Here we go, spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Alcyone. We have our red Terran player representing Onside as well as Team Vitality. It is the Tuna Terran himself, Ryung. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player, the blue Zerg representing Talon Esports. It is Dark. Let's go. Catching with the chat. Lifted racks would kill the core pylon and gateway for free. That is something that we have seen Terran players do, is to lift up that racks. The downside is that it does disrupt your Marauder production, and he was producing... Oh, pull first. He was producing Marauders there. Would have been a way to definitely lay siege upon that, and ideally force the Stalkers out of the main base, away from the range of the shield battery overcharge, and have them more back and forth. That's definitely something that could have happened. I mean, I'll be honest, I, again, was just surprised to see Bunny push up the ramp and try to force the issue to begin with. Like, that was crazy. Yeah, maybe he was tilted more than we thought after game 2. Like, again, after being ahead so much in game 2 and to fall then and there and to lose that lead, it can affect you. It definitely can affect you there. So I'm curious. I'm definitely curious as to the rationale there, or even the mentality of Bunny going into game 3, going into the ace match, and what led to that. Regardless, congratulations to Nightmare, and we're settling into our next series. It is going to be a Rax Expand standard opener out of Ryung. Again, it was a pull first from Dark. With that, Lings are moving out across the map. It is going to be 6 Lings here from Dark. Now, this is not an all-in. We saw this earlier from Raynor. Oh, as Ryung SCV scouts quite early on. Okay, let's go. So I was about to say that we saw this earlier from Raynor. We saw a variation of this to try to get across the map to wreak havoc, and we saw that Raynor popped off against Bunny. Essentially won the game off of his opener against Bunny with these 8 Lings. It was insane. But this time Ryung knows what's coming, does see it ahead of time. He can pre-pull the boys. He is getting ready here back at home. The SCV on the low ground is going to be targeted down. Marine has arrived. And so far, good stutter stepping. The boys are being pulled. One SCV goes down. But a much cleaner defense here from Ryung compared to what Bunny had to offer earlier. And Ryung, he will defend. He will get into his expansion. Delayed for a little bit here, but only 1 SCV went down. For comparison, by the way, if you weren't here for it, for Raynor, I keep wanting to say Ryung. For Raynor versus Bunny, Raynor killed 6 SCVs and a Marine and forced a lot of lost mining time. And he delayed the CC for so long as well. Like, it was insane what Raynor was able to pull off with the pull first. Here, Ryung, because of his scout, shuts it down. So very good defense there by Ryung. Meanwhile, very quickly across the map, I did mention that this was a variation of pull first, because this was a pull first, but it was also gasless. Gasless build here by Dark. Dark is quite fond of this on some of these greedier maps. Maps like Alcyone, maps like Post Youth as well, which means fast third. Faster at third base, a heavier queen count, more drones as well. Dark being quite greedy here, and this usually leads into roach play. Because there's no gas, there's no Ling speed is so heavily delayed, may as well skip it, may as well avoid it, and just go into roaches. That's usually what happens. And speaking of, there's that roach warren. Oh, there it is. Speaking of, there's that roach warren. So again, this is just a classic greedy Dark build. Does this quite often here. Again, it's very map dependent, just because without Ling speed, you can be very vulnerable against Hellion harass, against like 1-1-1 builds and Hellion pushes and that kind of early game aggression. We can see though that Ryung isn't going for that, as the tumor is going to be killed, and Ryung, he does confirm saturation in the third, but Ryung hasn't seen much more than that. Back at home, as we've been focusing a lot on Dark, we do have a very interesting build. Oh, this is a Björn build, by the way. We've seen Björn whip this out. We saw Björn do this actually a couple of days ago in ESL World Cup Asia. It's going to be a Rax expand into a third CC into a 3 Rax. We have quite some greed here from Ryung as well. Now, the scary thing about what's happening here is that Dark is going for a roach push, and Ryung doesn't have any factory-based units. There's no Cyclone, there's no tanks, there's no Banshee. It's pure Marine, and Stim is not even halfway done. These roaches could do quite a bit, actually. We'll see. I'm curious how this dynamic works. I want to give the edge to Dark, though. Roaches are pushing out, and we do spot them. Ryung knows. Ryung, he now is aware of what's going on, and he's getting ready back at home. Bunker is on the way. It just started. Is going to finish in time as Dark is soon to arrive. Now, as a reminder, Dark is droning behind this. He's taking gases. Dark is not all in. He's applying pressure, by the way, but this pressure could get more than we bargained for. Against Sim, it's just over halfway done. The stutter stepping is a little bit lackluster from Dark, though, as we dive on top of the army. We clean up all the roaches. A good cleanup here out of Ryung. Very nice cleanup again. I was expecting a little bit more kiting and micro out of those roaches. We did lack that, unfortunately, and with that, Ryung is solid. He defends beautifully, and behind this, he's able to land his third base, getting into his delayed factory, delayed starport production, getting to 1-1. Ryung is in a good position. A very good position post that roach push. Back across the map, we do see Dark getting into his fourth, now taking all of his gases, and we can go a couple of different directions. If Dark starts up +1 range and +1 carapace, this could lead into Roach Ravager, into Hydra Lurker Viper. Could be leading to Lurker Tech, and there's the Infestation Pit. That should be for Hive. The other option, if we go for +1 melee, is that this could be Roach Ravager into Ling Bane, into a much more fluid composition instead. But based on the upgrades, based on the Infestation Pit, I imagine this is going to be for Hive Tech and for an eventual Lurker transition. Before that does occur, though, it might be wise to invest into some Infestors, just so we can support the army and fungal down these Marines. And here we go, the Marines are pushing out. Baneling Nest gets thrown down. Let's go. Ling Speed as well, so we are getting ready for a Ling Bane transition. For now, it's only roaches, though. For now, only roaches. Ryung pushing forward, cleaning up some creep. Bearing in mind that Ryung does not have his medevacs, so he can't stim, or every stim counts, so he's holding on to them, at least until the medevacs arrive. And there we go, the medevacs, they have met up with the army. There's that safety infestor on the way. We do have a fungal available once it does pop out. And we'll see what Ryung can get done. There we go, we're going to be able to boost over towards the right hand side. So far, Dark is keeping up. Now, even though Dark is keeping up with the drop play, what he isn't able to keep up with is the creep. The creep is really barely connecting the bases. For now, it's just connecting the bases. We're trying to be more active, trying to be active on the map, trying to gain some kind of map control. But Ryung is there to make sure that that does not happen, to strip it away. Second factory is on the way. It's going to be for additional tank production. Yeah, the scan does reveal the Infestor. Ryung has to back off, has to respect it. Oh my god. Calm down. Ryung flirting with the army here, has to be very careful not to overcommit. She beat out some Marines. Playing with fire there, trying to bait out that fungal. Behind this, yeah, Ryung just rallying back towards his third. Fourth CC is finishing up. There's that Hive on the way here from Dark. And I'm curious as, there we go, melee is now on the way, not +2 range. So with this Hive Tech, I'm leaning more towards the side of Ultras more so than Lurker Tech. Otherwise, we would have committed to +2 range instead of +1 melee. So Dark is transitioning into a more mobile composition. Ling Bane, Roach Ravager. There's that Ultra Cabin, as I did mention. Again, because we're deviating away from roaches. Working towards that goal base. And Dark is focusing, at least for now, on tech. He's just taking up, maxing out, securing himself in these bases. And because of that, Ryung is going to be able to max out as well. Or at least he should be. Taking his fourth base and settling down. Trying to wall up and defend. Fungal does connect! Oh my god! A brutal fungal there for Ryung. Only escaping with one Marine, and a very nice catch by Dark. And with that, Ryung suddenly has that much less map control. And Dark, he can get ready for going for some counterattacks. Yeah, he has Zelnaga. Does have control of the Zelnaga, could threaten some run-bys here at the third. Ryung has to be careful. 3-3 just now starting. Dustin forward. Again, Ryung not necessarily known for his speed, but known for his positional play more than anything. That's why he does excel in TVT. Say that the tanks, they do siege. They do deny mining here at the goal. even within range of the gold base. Gold will be under fire at the same time. Dark amassing an army. No Ravagers, bear that in mind. Just Ling, Bane, Roach, Infestor. Ultra upgrades are still in the way. And it looks like this hatchery, it's going to go down. Good pick up here by Ryung. Doesn't lose anything. Clearing up creep on the right-hand side as well, gaining access to that 4th base. More Dark establishing his 5th. Getting a 6th. And Ryung, where do we rotate? Looks like we're headed towards the left-hand side instead. Just trying to clear up some creep. Pushing towards the left. Again, there are rocks here that he can fall back to. Some good terrain to work with. And Ryung, he's about to max out himself. He's almost there. He's there. Has maxed out. Ghosts are on the way, which will help against the Ultras. Ultra should be coming with the remax of Ryung, sorry, of Dark. And do we go for that Nidus? Nidus Swarm is done. There we go. Nidus into the main. And Ryung's maxed out, but he does have some reinforcements. At the same time, Dark collapsing on the main army. Soul Blinding Cloud. We catch a tank. We get 1, we get 2, we're going to get 3. But the positioning is just a little bit too good. And we cannot push into this choke point. Meanwhile, across the map, Nidus Worm is shut down. Snipe there on the Overlord. Base is denied. Ooh, that's a kill, not a cancel, by the way. Hatchery goes down. Hatchery does go down as Ryung is just cutting Dark off, denying more of this creep, and now we have to push in. Once again, good blinding clouds. We catch 2 of those tanks. Forcing Ryung back. At the same time, the Viper gets sniped. The Viper is targeted. The gold base goes down as well. Ryung pulling Dark apart. What do we have here towards the south? We have a fungal. With these fungals, we should clean this up. Just barely. But another base goes down. Dark, he just can't keep up. Being pulled left and right. 2 bases fall. And the mineral line. Okay, drones are going down one after the other. The Nidus Worm into the main base. It does fail. Does not finish. And Dark, he's desperate. He's going for a big counterattack. And the soup does lie here. Both armies are maxed out, but Dark is in trouble. He has to commit. Going for the tanks. Does catch some of them. Going for the ghosts as well. Good EMP. Shuts down the infestors. Boys are being pulled as well. The ghosts they weren't quite able to snipe. Meanwhile, across the map, Ryung forcing the issue. Wedging himself in between the bases, keeping the production. And Ryung, he may just have too much. It's hard to say. Can Dark break the main? Can he break into the main base? Liberators have arrived. Nothing shoots up. Nothing shoots up, and Dark, he has to back off. There is no answer to the libs. Freedom has arrived. And Ryung, he has done it. He is pulling this off. Again, Dark, he doesn't have any production. He has a bank, but he can't spend his money. Doesn't have the lava for it. And 2,000 minerals, but no lava. Big EMP here on the spellcasters. Ryung, ooh, forced to pick up. Leads out a lot of units. And Ryung, he's knocked down to 36 workers, but he does have mules. As I say that, yeah, the mule hammer has arrived. Dark, he's down to 2 mining bases, or really 1 mining base in total. Desperately triple expanding. Yeah, workers in a bit of havoc and a bit of chaos. Long distance mining. Catching more drones. There is no fungal. There is no fungal available. And again, because of the mules, because of the better economy, Ryung, he's maxing out, or at least he's exceeding here in the army supply. That's a lot of ultras, though. They have some decent upgrades. They have carapace. They have +3. They have kindness plating. Do we have any ghosts? We have 4. Yeah, we got ghosts. We have ghosts. We have liberators. In a head-to-head fight, I have to give it to Ryung. I have to give it to Ryung here, but that's only if they do clash. Otherwise, Dark, you go for run-bys. Speaking of, Ryung is going for some drops. Oh, and we're out of position. We deny 1 hatchery, we're going for another. And Ryung, he's coming back in. Let 2 bases fall. And we don't have a fungal. Don't have a fungal growth. Don't have an infestor. Ryung pulling back. Dark, he is kind of getting these bases back up and running. Not the best saturation, not the best drone counts. We're getting there. Dark, unfortunately, doesn't even have 3-3. Doesn't have the best answer for those Liberators either. He can always abduct them and break their siege, I guess. Or go for power bombs. True, we do have Borrow. We could try to go for some borrowed Bailing Mines. That is a possibility here, as both players are maxing out. Dark finally burning through his bank. This could still go either way, but again, I still want to give the edge to Ryung because of the upgrades, because of his positioning. Darky goes for a counterattack, goes for Planetary. Does collapse on it, Bailey's they roll in. Big connections. Big connections here. A mineral line goes down. Ryung does not have much to spare. But at the same time, these are expensive losses. At the same time, another Planetary goes down as well. Dark, he's popping off. Oh, I mean, we're trading bases. Darky gets 2 Planetaries at the same time. The goal base goes down. Top left goes down as well, or at least is threatened. The game is getting scrappy. And we focus on the hatchery. Looks like we cannot. Hatchery does survive. Ryung down to 20 SCVs, down to 18. More SCVs go down. Down to 18 workers. Dark being so annoying, borrowing there under that command center. But Ryung, he does have the supply lead. Has a massive army supply lead. Hatchery goes down, rotating over towards the left-hand side. We do have some blinding clouds. Dark can still take a fight. If Ryung is caught unsieged, or even sieged, if he's caught with blinding clouds, gets a tank. Oh, runs into reinforcements. Does get 2 of those ghosts. Expensive pickups. 2 goes for a handful of lings. This is still coming down to the wire. Dark, he's down to 1 mining base. Well, this is his most important mining base here. Good blinding clouds as well. They cover the tanks. Snipes are okay. We're getting on top of the tanks though. Reinforcements, they have arrived, and it looks like we have too much. The Terran army snowballing out of control. The Ultra was spazzing out there for a moment. I don't know if you noticed. It's freaking out. Hatchery goes down. Darky's up against the wall once again. Darky's down to 3 Ultras. 3 Ultras remaining, and Ryung, it does look like he has too much here. Snowballing out of control. Good baiting connections, but the Ultras, they just melt. GG gets called, and Ryung takes game number 1. Whew. GG. GG, well played. Yeah, solid game there out of Ryung, but things, they got dicey. They got very scrappy there, very back and forth between Ryung and Dark. Despite Dark's deficit, remember, he lost so many bases. He was down to 2 hatcheries against the 4-base setup of Ryung. I thought it was over then and there. But Dark, he brought himself back into it, going for some multi-pronged aggression of his own, shutting down the Planetaries, going for these ultra run-bys instead, and he did bring himself back into it, but it just barely was not enough to get the win, to claim that win, and with that, Ryung leads the series. Ryung does lead the series here. Catching up. Yo, thank you for casting these qualifiers. No problem, Papi, no problem. Every season, Papi, every season. We do our best, we do our best. How are you, Light? Better, I hope. Hello, Shamsay, hello. Yes, yes, I'm much better. I'm basically at 100%, or I'm like at 99%. I still like cough every now and then, but it's very sporadic. Like, for the most part, we're good. We're good, Papi, we're good. We have recovered. Wait, are all these replays, was the original tournament broadcasted or not? The original tournament was not broadcasted. For those that are maybe unfamiliar with how GSL works, I mentioned it before, but may as well mention it again. The GSL qualifiers were held less than a week ago, but GSL qualifiers are almost never broadcasted. Like, again, the last time GSL qualifiers were broadcasted live was like in Heart of the Swarm. Like, it was, many years ago is the last time it was broadcasted live. It's a very rare thing to happen. It's much more common for there to just not be a broadcast at all. But as of the past year, basically ever since GSL opened up their Patreon, they have opened up some broadcasting, some replay broadcasting for the qualifiers. So it's been like a year, maybe a year and a half, almost 2 years, I think, of the Patreon for GSL. And ever since then, they've been publishing replays for the people, for their patrons at least, to be casted. So we do appreciate it. Much love to GSL to allow, you know, replay casting to be occurring here. So because of that, we're going to be covering it here a couple of days later. And I'm sure many of the other content creators are going to be jumping on it as well. I'm sure some of them may have already casted. You know, people like Pig, people like Wardy, Rotterdam, all the YouTubers, I'm sure they've dabbled in those GSL qualifiers in some way or another. Oh. Catching up, yeah. Exclamation mark GSL if you want to link to the Patreon. GSL, they don't just publish the replay packs, but they also hand out or they also release some like player interviews and like player spotlights and photo shoots and behind the scenes stuff. So if you're interested, if you want to support the GSL, if you want to support Korean StarCraft, you can do so via Patreon. Exclamation mark GSL in the chat. GSL. Oh. And here we go. We're diving into game number 2. Gonna be on side Delta. As a reminder, this is a best of 3, and Ryung is 1 game away from qualifying for GSL. Oh boy, can he do it? Can he pull it off against Dark of all players? Or will we have an ace match? Here we go, spawning in the bottom right hand corner of side Delta. We have our South Korean Terran player, the Red Terran, representing Team Vitality. It is Ryung. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the blue Zerg player representing Talon Esports down in the series. And he needs to bounce back here and now to force the ace match. It is Dark. Here we go. And Ryung had a very interesting build last game. If you remember, he had a very interesting build. He did end up going for his Rax expand into a very fast 3rd CC off of a 3 Rax follow-up. It was a very interesting build out of Ryung. We have seen it before. We saw it earlier this week from Byun as well, and it didn't really work out. If you remember, the Marine push from Ryung... Oh, sorry, it actually did work out. I apologize. Winding it back. If you remember, Dark also went for a faster Roach Warren. He went essentially 2-base Roach. He went for a gaseous build, and the Roach army melted. Like, he threw his Roaches away initially. Ryung had a much stronger start as a result, and he had quite a lot of momentum going his way. And then things got chaotic. Things got very back and forth between these two players. It was a wild game 1, and I'm hoping the rest of this series lives up to it. I feel like we were spoiled a little bit in game number 1, but we'll see where the series does take us. But now, SV is moving out, going for a scout across the map. It is a Rax expand from Ryung, everything looking normal for now. Likewise, Dark going for a hatch gas pool, going for a more standard build as well. My apologies, I say that looks like it was actually a faster spawning pool from Dark, so he's getting into his queens as we speak. Reaper's moving out, and we are settling into this. Oh, you can see Dark attempting to take a 3rd base. Ryung is in position. We have some worker on worker action here between our two players, and it looks like the 3rd CC is the 3rd base is going to be delayed for Dark. Likewise, Reaper dips into the natural, threatens those drones, does force out a spore, but not much else. And Dark is contained. Really good damage done here, but he does fight back, and it looks like he will finally expand here at the third base. Does finally get his hatchery up and running. Delayed, but not for too much longer. Back at home, Ryung going for a third CC before Starport, very economic build. And it is a factory, not a second rack, so a much more standard build here by Ryung. Nothing too crazy, nothing too fancy. Let's go. So yeah, it does look like a 3cc into Starport. We should be seeing a Tech Lab on this rack into an add-on swap, or we could just go for something like a Liberator instead. We'll see how this all does come together. As after a wild game 1, things are calming down here in game number 2. Likewise, this time Dark didn't go for a gasless build, he's rushing into Link speed. We're not relying on roaches early on. Do have Lings to help support. Speaking of Lings, they do try to catch that Reaper, it will escape. Does barely slip away. Quick reaction there out of Ryung. Does manage to escape. And there's that add-on swap that we spoke about. Banshees are not quite in production. Interesting, going for a Viking first. That I was not expecting. Okay, so usually you go for the add-on swap to get into Banshees as quickly as possible, but no, we're going for a Viking instead. The Viking is going to be hunting down these Overlords, and it's going to be keeping Dark in the dark. And it is going to be hiding the Banshee, actually, overall. Okay, very interesting. The downside here is that there's no cloak. There's no cloak for Ryung. Won't have that available to him. Viking does move out. Its goal is to hunt down the Overlords. Checking the pillar here at the natural. Doesn't quite get eyes on the Overlord yet. Behind this, Dark going for a lair first. Interesting. I was gonna say going for a bit of an earlier lair, but around a 4-minute 30 lair timing here from Dark. As Ryung, not like this. Oh god, I didn't bring it up. I was hoping I didn't have to, but Ryung, he has been known to play mech in the past, and that's two armories going for a second factory as well. It's gonna be mech. Oh boy, and the Link gets in, no shot! Despite the Viking, despite the denied scout here of Dark, he gets into the main base, he gets eyes on both armories, gets eyes on the factories, and we are fully aware of what's going on. Roachborn gets thrown down. We cancel the Bailey Nest. Going into Roaches, going into double Evo Chamber. Dark, he's getting ready for the mech. Oh boy. Now, this is a little bit scary. If you've been watching the channel for the past couple weeks, you would know that 2 weeks ago, Dark versus Cure, as well as a couple weeks before that, Dark versus Gumiho, we had some very interesting series where both Gumiho and Cure were playing mech, and they both did defeat Dark with mech. It was Gumiho taking Dark down in the finals of ESL Asia, and Dark versus Cure, I believe that was in KSL, in the Korean StarCraft League. And in both tournaments, Dark did struggle against their mech styles. Now, to be fair, they were very unique styles of mech. Gumiho was very experimental, going into a more heavy Banshee style, into Mass Cyclone. We saw him dabble into faster Thor production. Speaking of, Ryung, are we going for a Thor drop? Reactor Medivacs, we're going for the add-on swap. Oh my god! Show us a lift. Show us the add-on swap, Bobby. Hellions move out. Meanwhile, there it is. We're going for Medivacs. We're going for the drop. Oh my god. Quanta, is that you? Show us the Medivacs. Show us, Papi. There it is. Medivacs are on the way. We're going for Thor drops. This is a very, very interesting build here from Ryung, going double armory into double factory into Medivac Thor drop. I love it. Are we gonna see it though? Because here comes a Nidus. I want to see the Thor drop, Papi. By the way, I'm pretty sure this is the Quanta build. I'm almost 100% certain. Where you go for double armory, going into 1-1, going into 2-2 behind this. It's gonna be Nidus Swarm Host coming out from the side of Dark. It's gonna be a little bit more delayed. Ryung has time, and we're amassing Thors. Now, is this the quad Thor drop? It is not. Oh, so not quite the Quanta build. Now, what Quanta does, imagine this exact build, except we go for a third and a fourth Thor, and we go for a third and a fourth Medivac, and we go for a quad Thor drop instead. Like that's the Quanta build. For those who don't know, Quanta, he's a Korean Terran player. Unfortunately, not quite it, but we're halfway there. Half a Quanta build. Nidus Swarm does finish. Swarmhosts are on the way. At the same time, Ryung, he was in the middle of his push. He's forced to pull back. Uh-oh. Forced to pull back. The Nidus Swarm does finish. Locust Wave into the natural base. And we do deny mining time. We dive on top of the CC. Uh-oh. It looks like we will force a cancel. Massive cancel there on the 4th base. It was almost done. Almost complete. At the same time, Dark, he has to defend. Ryung is committing. The Thors have arrived, but we have Roaches, we have Queens. We have an army. Solid anti-armor missile. Thors are pushing through, but we're running out of Hellbats. As we bleed out Hellbats, what else do we have here to hold on? What else can we work with? We focus down the medivacs one after the other. And we only save one Thor. A brutal loss there for Ryung. And Darky's maxed out. Darky's maxed out. He's at 74 workers. Getting a 5th base. Massing Roaches, Swarm Hosts, Ravagers as well. And Ryung is up against the wall. And his build, the whole point of this build was to move out with those Thors, and it fell on its face, and we have almost nothing left. We have some naked tanks. They're so exposed. They have nothing here. There's nothing here to protect them. And we dive on top of the tanks. 1, 2, 3 of them go down. And GG gets called. Ryung caught with his pants down, and Dark fights back, tying up the series 1-1. GG. Whew. GG, well played. I appreciate the Thor drop. I appreciate it. It was fancy. It was beautiful. Unfortunately, because we were hyper-fixated and building up towards that drop and towards that push, because it failed on its face, Ryung had nothing left. Ryung, he threw away all of his Hellbats, threw away his Thors, threw away a medevac, and he had nothing left at home to protect his tanks. He was so vulnerable to a counterattack, and Dark did hit then and there. GG. We're going to the ace match. We're going all the way to game number 3. Let's go. Ooh, let us go. That Swarmhost skin, that was pretty spiky. Those are some spiky Swarmhosts. Let's go. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the South Korean Terran player, the Red Terran, representing Team Vitality, being forced into the ace match. Can he bring it back? It is Ryung. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player, the Blue Zerg, representing Talon Esports, forcing that ace match, shutting down the mech and shutting down the Thor drop. It is Dark. Now I just miss Quanta. I'll be honest. Smooch. I do recommend the VODs if you're curious. We do upload everything that we cast on YouTube, and many years ago, we did cast a little Quanta, and he did have a very specific, very unique Thor drop build that he would whip out, and he even did it against Solar as well. Did it one time against Solar, and did bring him to his knees at a time. This was back in the COVID era of StarCraft. I'm talking 2021, maybe 2022, a couple of years ago. But for now, we're settling into our game, and as we load into Oceanborn, I imagine we're not going to see mech this time. Oceanborn is known for roach pushes. It's known for aggression on both sides, and Dark has been relying on roaches. Throughout this entire series, roach play has been a prominent feature here of Dark's play, and on a map like Oceanborn, it can be risky going for something quite tech heavy. These timings and these pushes can be brutal, and we'll see how Ryung approaches this. Going to be a rack expand out of Ryung. So far, a standard opener. SCV scouts moving out. And I imagine Ryung once again wants to try and deny the third base. Now here on Oceanborn, there's only one third you can take. This linear third base is so exposed. It's so vulnerable, it's not really worth taking. We have seen some instances where we try to take it, as Darky does rush in, but Ryung is here to deny and delay the third. Oh, and Ryung, he does shoot first. Oh! The drone! Barely does escape, barely does survive. Whew. Pulls back, trying to regenerate that HP. Reaper has arrived, and we should be able to morph in that gas, guys, if we save the drone. But we do delay the third. We we go. Dark now going to be able to expand behind this. Behind said Reaper. Is delayed, but only by a couple of seconds. As the Reaper dances with the army. Takes down a Ling. Pulls back behind this third CC before Starport. Same build. Same build, 2 games in a row. Standard opener out of Ryung. Now this standard opener can lead into bio, can lead into mech. It can be quite flexible overall. But after what happened in game number 2, I don't see mech really coming out anytime soon. Not in game 3. But we'll see. Behind this we have our add-on swap into our 1-1-1 follow-up. We should be seeing a tech lab on this Rax. If we don't, that could be a bit of a tell. But based on the positioning, we're primed for an add-on swap. And there is that tech lab. As Ryung, he got a scout of the main base, gets the hell out of there. I believe Ryung was able to get eyes on the gas geysers. Maybe checking. Not quite, he dipped into the main but was zoned away, so he doesn't confirm that it's not a roach rush. We can at least see that it's not, but Ryung has yet to really confirm. Ryung has yet to confirm, so going into Banshees is a really safe move, really safe play here out of Ryung. Banshee play can shut down roach pushes quite well, and we're even investing into Cloak as well. Okay. So 3 CC into Cloak Banshee out of Ryung. Dark on the other side, just hatch gas pool into a delayed third into drones. Nothing wild between our players yet. Dark going for a 4-minute 20 lair timing, slightly earlier compared to last game, only slightly. Curious how we do want to make use of that. Based on the 4-minute 20 timing here, we'll see Bailey Nest is going to be thrown down. Okay, safe play here from Dark. Going there first into a Bailey Nest. The way this usually works is that by the time the Bailey Nest finishes, we can start up Bailing Speed and then get into our double Evo Chamber, double upgrades. Soon thereafter. So Dark just playing straight up Ling Bane. There's 2 Evo Chambers, getting into 1-1. Straight up Ling Bane here out of Dark, keeping up with the Hellions, forcing them back. Likewise, Ryung taking his 3rd base, getting into his 3rd and 4th racks. Sorry, 2nd and 3rd racks. There we go, into our 4th and 5th. So 5 racks set up on 3 bases. Pretty standard here out of Ryung. And yeah, it's been nothing out of the norm. Really, we just have this back and forth between Ryung and Dark, of Ryung vying for map control with his Hellions, and Dark forcing it back with his Queens. Banshees do push in, and with a fast lair, interesting. Okay, so we should have been prioritizing Bailing Speed, but we skip Bailing Speed, and what do we do with that gas? Infestation Pit. Infestation Pit's on the way, we're rushing into a hive. Banshees, they will get eyes on this, they do confirm. Big scout by Ryung. Now, a fast hive like this usually means ultras. Usually means Ling Bane into ultra, but we'll keep our eye on Dark, especially because he has been scouted. Has been scouted. Banshees to get a couple more drone kills. 4 drones in total. There's the hive already on the way, as you did mention. Again, usually this does lead into ultra tech. Bailing Speed now on the way as well. We'll see if Dark takes us for a bit of a different turn. If he does go in a different direction instead. But now just keeping up with the harassment. Ryung getting ready for his 7-minute push. Now with medevacs, now with tanks. Did preserve most of his Hellions. This move out can be quite potent, but it looks like Ryung, he's staying back on him with his tank. He's only moving out with his Marines. I spoke too soon. We're pushing. Let's go. We are going to be a little bit more committed here from the side of Ryung. Pushing out, Dark taking his 5th. Is taking his 5th base. Armory is done. Hellbats are morphing in to protect the tank. And Dark, he should be able to deny this 5th base. The hatchery should be cancelled. we stem forward, we force the cancel. Moved there by Ryung. But we haven't really seen a major clash between the players yet. Getting ready for some drop or harass at the natural. 2-2 starting up for Dark. And Ryung is threatening Dark, but he's not quite committing here. I mean, he's got the one tank, but he has kept everything else back at home. The additional tanks, the Banshees. Ryung has been very careful here with his play. As the Banlings are going to be jumping in. Oh! Ooh, decent connections. Yeah, 6 SCVs go down. Decent connections to that mineral line. Meanwhile, behind this, there's that Ultra Cavern that we spoke about. Again, because it was a fast hive, because we delayed the Baneling Nest, Ultras did make the most sense. So it is an Ultra rush from Dark. Ling Bane into Ultra. Now, the downside of this playstyle, as you can imagine, is drop play. And also that you're relying on only Ling Bane to defend. So, yeah, these earlier pushes and earlier drop play can be quite devastating. But Ryung he's been taking this slow. He's been taking it maybe a little bit too slow here. As sure, he denied the 5th, that's all he's really done. And sure, now we might be pushing in, but the Ultra Cavern has completed. Clearing up some creep. Rotate around. Still a lot of creep to work through. A lot of creep has settled in. And Dark, he's ready for a flank. He's ready to collapse on this position from multiple angles. And we're going for it. The blinding clouds get thrown down. We cover the tanks, 2 of them at least. And the Ling Bane, it will clean this up. Yeah, the tanks are falling. Marines, they do hold on. But without any tanks, what can they really do? Yeah, Banshees get cleaned up, and Ryung, he has to back off. Man with gun on its own, not able to pose much of a threat. Ryung pulls back. Dark, he gets away with his 5th and his 6th base. Did double expand. Holds on to both. I may have spoken too soon there, as Ryung does sim towards the left-hand side, going for the hatchery. Does try to focus it down. Oh, it's so close. And it looks like the base does fall. Whew. Clutch pick off there by Ryung. Does get the hatchery. Meanwhile, a triple drop on the right-hand side. Ryung moving out. Going for the 5th. But Dark is in position. This time he's ready for the counterattack. Speaking of the Marines, they do push in, but that's a lot of Marines. That's a lot of men with gun. Good stutter stepping. We clean up the Lings, and can we take down the Ultra? Can we bring it down? +3. Carapace is not done for the Zerg. And the Ultra, it does fall. Ooh, massive pick off at the same time. Dark going for a base trade. Bases are going down for Dark. At the same time, he busts into the natural. Bailey's a crash in. Big connections. And Dark, he's camping the main base, camping the production across the map. Ryung, he's gaining ground, but it looks like we have plenty to defend. Dark, he may have lost the 5th, but he holds on to his 4-base setup. GG gets called. Ryung, he has not enough back at home. Does snowball out of control, and Dark will take the series 2-1, qualifying for GSL. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations, Dark. He does bounce back. He brings it all back here in Game 2 and in Game 3, and he will qualify for GSL as he should. Dark is one of the best Zerg players. He is the best Zerg in South Korea. Would not be a GSL without it. Congratulations. My condolences to Ryung. He did very well for himself, especially in Game 1. Game 2 was wild. To play mech, to go into a Thor drop, was crazy. I appreciate the build, but did not work out. And here in game number 3 as well, Ryung just wasn't able to get the momentum he was looking for. He wasn't able to punish the build of Dark, specifically Dark racing and delaying Baneling speed, rushing into Infestation, rushing into Ultra Tech, was something that was not punished, and yeah, Ryung, by the time he was being active on the map, ultras were already coming out. Just a really solid game there from Dark. Very well done. GG. Whew. GG, well played. And with that, Ryung gets knocked down to the lower qualifying match. He has another chance, do not fret. Has another opportunity. Up next is going to be Ryung's second chance here to qualify for GSL. It's going to be Ryung versus Su in another Terran versus Zerg. Another TVZ. Here we go. But before we get ready for our fourth series, we're halfway done. We are halfway done at this point. It is time to catch up with the bracket. It's time to very quickly catch up with the bracket to try to get a read on where we are and where we are headed. Switching our scenes over. I think I have some updating to do as well. Here we go from the top as I quickly do update our bracket. Bam. Beautiful. From the top, so we just went over this. Raynor, he just 2-0'd Bunny. Raynor was the first to qualify for this season of GSL over Bunny. Likewise, Nightmare had a crazy back and forth series with Bunny. I do recommend it. Raynor versus Bunny was a little bit more one-sided, but Bunny versus Nightmare was very close, very back and forth. Even some of the games that either Bunny would win or Nightmare would win could have gone either way, so that was a very clutch series. Nightmare did win it in the end. Bunny having a rough time here in these qualifiers is knocked down. Likewise, Dark also able to qualify here for the season of GSL. Ryung will have to try his luck here or try to fight for his life once again in our next series. Again, do need to quickly update the bracket here. Boom, there we go. Up next is going to be Ryung versus Su. And as you can see here on our schedule, on the rest of our matches that are lined up here, after Ryung versus Su, we have another qualifying match, Solar versus Creator. That's going to be in Group C, in an entirely different group, Solar versus Creator, and the loser of that series up against Shin in our final series and final qualifying match of the night. So we still have 3 series left. Until then, though, we're going to be going on a short break. We're halfway through the night. We've done 3 matches. We have 3 left. We're going to be going on a short break. Take this moment to hydrate your Hydras, stretch your Roaches, massage your Marines, marinate your Marauders, and tuck in your Tempest. We're going to be back in 5 minutes with the next half of the broadcast. See you soon. See you soon. See you soon.